morning, everyone. Welcome. Let me ask you a question. Let's say you have a task to complete that you have never done before. How many of you would say that you learn best by reading instructions on how to do that task? How many? Did anybody say that? How many of you would say you learn best by watching someone complete the task? Anybody? A couple of you? Okay, good. Now, how many of you learn best by actually getting in there and doing the task, and getting your hands in there and actually giving it a try? Okay, yeah, lots of people. All right, very good, great. So let me ask you this: how about if we were able to combine all three of those together? Reading of the instructions, watching someone else complete the task, and then you getting in there and attempting to complete the task. That sounds like it'd be great learning, doesn't it? Well, this method of learning is called a demonstration, and it's a great way to learn a new task. But it's true, it's not quite that simple. There's a little bit of science behind it. There's some tips on how to make any demonstration more effective. My name is Brenda Powell, and I welcome you to this session on how to give an effective demonstration. Today I'm going to share with you 6 tips for an effective demonstration, and I will use an example to help get this point across. And my example demonstration is going to be how to make a face mask at home with items that you have at home. Okay? Great. All right, so when you're training someone on how to do something, like maybe an associate, maybe you're in a training at work, and this associate needs to learn a new process or a task that we all really want associates who are learning new things to learn them quickly and learn them correctly, so that when they get out into the workplace to do the task, they have a really good understanding of it. So a demonstration is a great way to do that. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is go over all the tips of an effective demonstration, and then I will go back and use the example of the face mask to help you get a better understanding of how that works. Okay. Here's the 6 tips for an effective demonstration. The first one is to be very prepared. You need to explain the process and the goal. Number 3 is KISS, but it's actually keep it simple and slow. You're going to let them try it out. You're going to ask lots and lots of questions, and then it's really important to keep to the time limit. So let's dig in there a little deeper. The tip number 1 is to be prepared. It's so important that you understand the subject matter, you have practiced the demonstration, so you understand how long it takes, you understand all the steps of the tasks that are part of the demonstration. While you're practicing your demonstration, you should write out a task list so that you make sure you don't miss any steps, because that can be very confusing for people. It's also a great idea to create some media to go with your presentation, such as a PowerPoint, or also an instruction sheet, which we also have an instruction sheet that we're going to use when we attempt the mask. It's critical to position yourself while you're giving the demonstration so that everyone in your audience can see you and see everything you're doing, because that's part of the learning, is watching someone else do it. And have all your materials ready. It's very important to have your own materials ready, and if your audience needs materials, it's important that theirs are all ready for them, and you don't have to do any last minute scrambling for anything. So tip 1, be very prepared. Tip 2 is to explain the entire process and the goal. You don't have to go through every detail. You just give them a brief synopsis of what's going to happen. It helps get them ready to learn those things. Visuals are great, photographs, diagrams. Our instruction sheet has little pictures to help teach you how to complete the task. Text helps too. We talked about The 3 really good ways to learn are to read about the task, watch someone else do the task, and then actually do it. So the instruction sheet has also some directions along with the pictures because that helps with learning. So that's tip number 2 is explain it all. Tip number 3 is KISS, and we don't want anybody to get too close to each other now, but KISS stands for keep it simple and slow. And that means don't use language that's too difficult to understand. Move at the pace that your students need you to move. And very often that's slow when you're learning a brand new task. So plan to keep it simple and slow. Tip number 4 is to let them try it out. If at all possible, when you're doing a demonstration, once you've demonstrated the process, then the students, the audience, really need to get in there and try it themselves, because that is a really great way to learn, especially after you've been exposed to it a little bit. You get in there and try it yourself, and then it sort of really reinforces the learning of the task. Tip number 5 is to ask lots and lots of questions, and that's how you understand if your audience is comprehending everything you're saying. You have to ask questions. Do they understand it? What's the next step? Do you know why we're doing this? So lots of questions to gauge understanding of the students all throughout the demonstration. And tip number 6 is to keep to your time limit. And this is really important. It's a real important reason why you practice it, so you know exactly how long your presentation is going to take. You know how many minutes you have. Today we only have 20 minutes. So you have to practice your demonstration to make sure it fits into the time allotted. Because then you also need to leave a little time at the end for your summary, because that again reinforces the learning. So it's important to be prepared and know how long your demonstration is going to take. Because if you go over the time limit, you're probably not going to get to cover all the steps, which will leave your audience maybe a little frustrated and maybe not really trusting your credibility anymore, because they've left there without really fully understanding what they came to learn. So it's important to stay in your time limit. So again, here's the 6 steps for an effective demonstration, and we're going to start our own practice demonstration, our sample demonstration about how to make a face mask. Everyone has an instruction sheet in front of them. We're going to show that we came prepared, so we all have our instruction sheet in front of us. We each have, the materials are listed on the instruction sheet, and they are 2 10x6 rectangles of cotton fabric, and everyone has 2 pieces there. 2 pieces of elastic or string or hair ties. These are actually not hair, they look like hair ties, but they're not. They're actually, I bought these trouser socks at Walmart, and you just cut little strips off of them, just like that. Show you what I do there. And you stretch it out just a little bit, and it's perfect, soft, very stretchy ear loop for your ear, so it doesn't hurt your ear. And then the other things we need are the scissors that we use today. We've got our sewing machine here. You don't have to have a sewing machine. You can sew this by hand with a needle and thread very easily. We also have an iron here to press our face mask when we're done, so it's nice straight lines. And we have 4 straight pins to help pin the elastics in place while we sew them. Okay, so I'm going to go through all the steps. I'm going to show you how to make the face mask. I'll go through all the steps, and then when I'm finished with that, after you've seen me do it, then you get to do it. Okay? All right, so the first thing we do is we take our fabric, and if your fabric has a pattern only on one side, this is sort of pattern is on both sides, but so it's not as important. But if your pattern only has it on one side, you want to put the patterned sides together. So that's called putting right sides together, okay? So we're going to put the right sides together, just like that. We're going to take our elastics and pin them in the corner. So you're going to put a little pin in the elastic in the corner. And because the right sides are together, the actual part of the loop that's going to go around your ear is actually inside the fabric, not outside the fabric. So we're going to pin those right there so they stay in place while we're sewing. So you pin one at the top corner and one at the bottom corner. And it's going to pucker a little bit, but that's okay. It won't once we get it finished. So we're going to pin them there. Now this is probably the trickiest part of the whole operation, is getting these pins in this elastic. Okay, so that'll be tricky. And of course, using the sewing machine is also a process that takes longer than 20 minutes to learn. So I will be doing all the sewing for this demonstration. But I'll tell you how I'm doing it. And it's easy to do this with needle and thread too. So we're pinning these elastics in the corners. And it's puckering up a little bit, I don't know if you can see that. But we're going to pull it tight to sew it, okay, so that the elastic is pulled tight and flat to sew it. Okay, so the next step on the sheet, after you've pinned the elastic, step number 2, is pin the elastic into the corners with the 4 pins. We're going to leave a section, a 3-inch section along the bottom of this mask open so that we can flip it right side out. So where we're going to start the sewing is right at the beginning of one side of the 3-inch section, okay? So we're going to get that started right here. And we need to make sure our pins are in the right place to hold our elastic in. And we're just going to go. And then here's the key, is when you get to the side with the elastic, you got to pull that down tight. And pull the pucker out straight, and then just sew. So taking your pin out when you get there is beneficial too. So we're sewing all 4 sides. It's true you could do this with needle and thread, no problem, if that's what you have. We're going to go all around all 4 sides. Making certain to get the elastic in under the thread and the needle so that it stays attached. Thank you. Okay, and we've got to put a little lock on that. All right, so that's simple. We sewed all around all 4 edges. Let's make sure our pins are out. Now the little opening at the bottom, the 3-inch opening, it said number 4 in your instruction sheet says flip the mask right side out through the 3-inch unsewn section, and you bring it out. It's a little tricky there, but you flip it out. Just keep working it until you get it completely flipped inside out, or right side out. And then your loops are in there. Just reach in there and grab your loops, and you pull it out flat. Okay, so there's your mask. And my iron has gone cold. We'll iron this one in just a minute when it heats back up, but we're going to iron it nice and flat, and then we're going to stitch closed the opening so that you have a nice mask with all the seams tucked in. You can wash this mask. You can wear it many, many times. Okay? All right. You guys ready to try it for yourself? Awesome. Let me let that iron heat up. Okay, let's grab our instruction sheet. So So as you could tell, we went through I explained all the process and the goal. I kept it simple and slow, and now we've gotten to number 4, we're gonna let them try it out. So, take your fabric and pin your elastics into the corners. Okay, let me know if you need help. I will iron this one flat. So we've got this one ironed flat, nice, much nicer and neater. And we're going to stitch this opening closed. Well, actually, let's do
Did it.
Did you get it?
I did.
Oh, that's the tricky part. You did that good. Awesome.
Just kidding.
Just kidding. I lied. So now I'm going to stitch this closed. Let's see. Okay. There we go. And clip those off right there. And you have a mask. You can also make these whatever size you need them for your face. This one is a little big on my face. You could make it a little smaller if you needed to, but it does the job, and it's nice and soft and loose. Okay, did you get it all pinned? Very good. All right, so one side of it needs to make sure it's tucked in, because that's actually what's going to be on the outside. Okay. All right, so what do we do next?
You start like here because of the 3-inch.
Okay, so start here?
Yeah.
All right. Then what? I'm just gauging your learning.
And then you sew, but make sure you take your pins out before you sew it.
When you get to the
Like
corner,
when you
take
get
the
to
pins
it.
out. Okay, good. Good tip. Okay, let me get that pin out. Turn the corner. Do you want to try to sew it?
Sure.
Let me get to around this one corner, because we've got to pull it tight, and I'll let you sew the other side. And then the key is, don't get your finger under the needle, and you press with your foot, and just hold your fabric flat and guide it through. Right there.
It's kind of like driving.
Hold on. You got to, let's tuck this in, this one, because this is going to be what's actually on the outside. So, yeah, you can, okay, let's raise this, let's put the needle into the fabric. Raise this foot up, and then, there you go.
Awesome.
Make sure we get that in there. Okay, go just a little bit further. Jump to the end, almost the end. Right there.
Okay.
Put the needle into the fabric.
And then stitch.
So leave that pin in there to hold it, but make sure you pull it tight like this as you sew down that side. You gotta let it go, but just hold it flat. Okay, go. So that has to be on the inside. Okay, now go. Hold it with your hands. Good. Good job. Keep going all the way to the corner. A little bit further. Okay, now stop with the needle in the thread, in the fabric. Push with your foot, the needle down into the fabric. Push with your foot. There. Let's do it now.
I get this way.
Sorry. So remember, you leave a 3-inch gap, so sew to about right there.
Okay.
There you go. That's good. All right, very good. Okay, so now we're gonna take it off there and take that off. Now, flip it right
Inside
side out. That's number 4 on the list. Good.
Yep.
All right. And do you know why we flip it right side out and sew it this way?
Because it keeps the handles in there?
Well, it keeps the seams on the inside.
Oh,
So that you can wash it and it'll last longer. Okay? Look how cute it
It
is.
is cute. I like that.
All right, do you want to iron it?
Yeah.
So iron it really flat on the, pull all these corners out and just, I'm gonna tuck that in right there. And iron it back. Okay, just, there you go. Good job. That's all. All right, come back over here, bring it over here.
Okay.
And make sure we still have thread. Now, where the opening was, we're just gonna sew it on the outside, okay? And there'll be a little bit of a stitch that shows right there, but it won't be a big deal. So you wanna make sure you're sewing it right where those are folded over, okay? So, go right along the edge, right there, okay? And that's number 5, stitch along the opening with the edges tucked inside the mask. Okay? Okay? Did you get all the way to the end?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Look at that. All right. Now you've made your mask. There you go. Ready to put it on? And now we have matching ones. Awesome, very good. Okay, you did a great job. Okay, so these again are the tips for an effective demonstration. I hope you found it effective.
I did.
We came prepared. We had all of our materials ready to go and our media ready to go. We explained the whole process and what we were going to end up with, what our goal was. We kept it simple and slow so that everyone understood, and we moved along at the pace of the student. And then we let you try it out, because that's the best way to learn how to do something, is actually get in and do it yourself once you have an understanding of it. Ask lots of questions so that I know sort of where the audience is in their learning, and also to reinforce ideas, and then keeping to the time limit so that we are able to get all the steps covered and are able to review, like I just did, to reinforce all of those ideas. So, I have a couple of questions for everyone. Can you name at least one way to be prepared?
Bring all of your materials.
Bring all your
ready.
materials, very good. What else?
Know what you're presenting.
Know what you're presenting, very good. Anything else?
Have a solid